You must excuse me for my English accent. English is not my first language. It comes not as a surprise for you, I guess. And I almost never speak English. So, but I try my best. I am going to talk about what happened to me in the past, let's say like 6 years. Yeah, I should say. Try to keep the details of my relationship because it's beside the point. It's just I met someone. She was not my first and not the last Costa Rican girlfriend or Latin American girlfriend. But I was at a point of my life when I said I was already like 49 years old. So I said, well, it's probably too late already to have a child. So I was not against it. We enjoyed life. We had good intimate life, good sexual relationship, and we had a fantastic sexual life. And I just gave it a go. So I didn't plan. I just let it go. I had my job to do. I had plans with my life. I was constructing in Costa Rica. It was consuming. So I just did my best. And I said, well, if I'm going to have a son or daughter, let it be. She's probably not the best person I could have chosen, but then at the end, it's not man who chooses. It's women who decides with whom they go to bed. It's men who decides who they go into relationship with. So that's what happened. And then time passed and then problems came, but we were already in a very passionate relationship, and then it was already a lot of emotions invested and time, and yeah, she was really sexy. So yeah, I'm just a human being. So I think she was already pregnant. Then problems came, and then she made a test, and then it went south. For some reasons, which I'm not going to detail here. I'm not perfect either, but then basically I was communicated that I was just wanted for my genetics in this relationship, and to the conception of my later son, and the financial support which I am going to pay through the state, which will help her finance her life. So I'm not needed anymore, which is like, it happens in other countries too. But Costa Rica law is not soft on men who doesn't pay. So, and then we separated, we didn't communicate, and then she made some attempt to tell me that she might abort my kid, or she might go to the United States, so I will never see my son. He was still not born at that point. And then I got calls that she went to an abortion, and then I got later call that she's still pregnant. So it was confusing and emotionally really draining. That's the word. So I just let it be. I had a hard time with other things. It was past COVID, during the hardest time of COVID, so it was not the best time of my life. And then like a few months later, probably like in November, my son was born in November, and then later November I got an official letter from the authorities declaring that I should keep 500 meters distance from the mother of my son, which came as a surprise. So there were some accusations that I kidnapped her, I mistreated her, like the domestic violence, and then I should attempt a court hearing later times. I should prepare my defense. It was scary. It was really scary because I live in a small village, and then she's from the city. She was born in this village, but she's from the city. And then when she comes here, I should distance myself from her in my own village. So it's like a really upside down situation. So I didn't take it well. I still didn't know what my son's name was. You know, I didn't take part in naming my son. I didn't know when he was born, so I had to ask the lawyer to find it out. And so he did. So did he. Yeah. And his name was revealed, but it still didn't bear my family name. So then I decided I'm not going to play fool, and I'm going to ask for a DNA test. I heard stories, you know. So my request didn't meet with pleasure on the other side, but I still kept to my plans. And so the DNA test revealed that it's almost 100% sure that it was my son. But I still never seen him. I still didn't see any photo of him. And then he was at this point like half-year-old probably. So the first time I saw him was on a beach. Someone called me that the mother of my son might be in town, and then someone could help me negotiate that I could see my son, but I still had the 500 meters distancing. So I was afraid if I approached, I could get in trouble. But then everything went well. We didn't communicate. So I could hold my son the first time in my life, and I have to, you know, practically ask what his name was. You know, I already knew it on paper, but you know, I never seen him before. So, and then nothing happened in terms of the 500 meters distancing. Then the court hearing was in process, so I won the case because it didn't stand, but it was very stressful, very, very stressful. And then came the second case of the child care, which I was to pay backwards because I didn't pay during the pregnancy, because I didn't know she was pregnant or not, because she called me about the abortion, and then that she did abort it, then she did not. So, well, and then she asked money during the pregnancy, and then I said, all right, I want to see you pregnant before I even consider giving you money. But in my culture, giving money like this is not really in question. It's out of the question. Like, it's like blackmailing someone to give money. It's like using state of pregnancy to squeeze money out of someone, which is, for me, is like not really appealing in my culture. So then I went to the court. It was not easy because I live on the countryside. I have no car, or I don't remember. I had either a shitty car or no car at that point, and it's quite far. So I went there, and then she said that she wants $600 monthly fee for childcare, which is Costa Rica is like, I think it's like 4 times the minimal amount. For me, it's quite a lot of money. For the US terms, it might sound like a low value, but I'm from Eastern Europe, like Eastern Central Europe, and that's for $600 in a small house in the countryside you can live for 1 month. So I'm from a humble country, and then it's just a point that you are looked at and decided just because of your skin color and color of your eyes that you should be able to pay such an amount, and such an amount is counted 12 times plus for Christmas and January it's doubled. So if it's $600, then you have to pay December 1200 and January 1200. So we are talking about end of the year, $1,400, which is quite nice, yeah, already. So I was looking at that, and I said I'm not able to do that, you know. So okay, so how much can you pay? It was like on the market, on the black market, you know, just negotiating. It's just, okay, why don't you ask me about my possibilities? Yeah? Like how much I earn, and it was never asked. No documents were asked. The judge, usually a female judge, just tries to get in between the two amounts that you say you can pay $100, and she says $600, and then they try to cut it in half. It's like uncivilized. So that's what's happened to me. It's like I ended up like $400 something. Yeah, $400, which is like then $1,600 in December, basically. So last year I paid $1,600, which was quite pressing. So what happens if you don't pay that amount? Depending on the mother of your child or children, you can be denounced, reported in the authorities. So after one day of delay, the police starts to look for you. So if they catch you, you go to prison from 2 months up to 6 months. And then if you can pay the first day or someone bails you out, then you can go out. But it's a stressy situation. So it happened to me several times that I was delayed because, you know, end of the year, the banks are long queue, or end of the month when you have to pay, long queue. And sometimes I didn't have the money. So I had to pay like the week after. And it was already stressful. It's not just they come after you with a gun. It's if they stop you somewhere and then you are in the system. But still, you know, it's uneasy. It's not a comfortable situation. It's stressful. So after this negotiation, life went on, and I got sick with several things. Like I had this, you see my leg here, it's a parasite. I was in hospital. Then after this parasite, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer and then lung cancer. So I had to go back to my country. I was diagnosed there, but I don't want to get into those details. So I was treated 1.5 years in my country with cancer, and I'm still here. So I should say I'm okay, but I'm operated. So some parts were removed, so life is not the same. And then when I came back, I decided to appeal for a lower amount monthly to pay. So I had a medical examination. I also have a back fusion. So it was quite humiliating. There was like 2 or 3 medical examinations and 1 psychology examination. And so they found me like 20-25% discapacitated, wasn't handicapped. And then those documents I had to present in the court so they could lower my monthly child support. So did they? It was also a very hard negotiation. It was it's not nice. I mean, I just want to see my son and pay like a right amount, but nobody ever talked about seeing my own son. You know, at this point I saw my son 3 or 4 times in my life, and then he was already 4 years old. So, and then when I told the judge, usually a female judge, as I said, and she said, it's a whole different issue. Like you are paying, we are discussing your payment now, but then it's another case you have to present, and then that's a different issue. But usually everything takes like a year. So if I go back to my country, which is Hungary. And I spent a few months there, then the case is dropped. So I have to come back, start it all over again. And if I'm lucky enough to be able to stay the time it takes, then they call me in. If not, then the case is dropped again. And nobody cares if you can see your son or daughter, you know? It's basically, you are in the hand, excuse me, you are in the hand of a woman, and she can do whatever she wants with you. And she does, in my case, she does. So, I was operated with cancer. Fortunately, the lung cancer was gone or cured or was not there in the first place. It was not a fun period of my life. I was operated, so now I cannot travel on a bus without a toilet. And I don't have a car, working car at least. And the bus takes 6 hours and there's no toilet on the bus. And then if I want to see my son, I have to pay a hotel, and she doesn't let me see my son without her. Or I have to go to an apartment to someone who she lives with, and I stay there in an uncomfortable situation, paying hotels, and then it's just too much for me. I want to be with my son. I have a beautiful house here, which I take care of. I rent some apartment here, and I live in a small cottage close to that place, so I can get that apartment for the family. I offer them so that they can stay there, but they refuse. And what was the last draw here? Last drop in this case is that she came here in this village 2 weeks ago, and she didn't bring my son. And I'm begging her mother to help me and bring my son here. And I offered the place where she can stay with her whole family, and she refused. I mean the mother, so the grandmother cannot do anything. And then I was hoping a little bit for that, but then now I think it's over. So now I'm going to the court again, and I'm going to report her. But I decided finally to start this video, and then I plan this to be a series of several videos explaining what to avoid, what not to do in Latin America, and also explaining my case. So when I was in Hungary with cancer in the hospital, I couldn't pay the child care because, you know, you have to know in Costa Rica you have to go to the bank personally to pay the child support. So if you have a bank account in that bank, you can do it, but you cannot send an international transaction. So you have to be here in Costa Rica, go make a queue, which is about 2 hours sometimes. Now I have a card, I'm handicapped, so I can go faster. It takes now 15 minutes. Okay, it's not fun, but if you're outside of the country, you have to have a friend or relative or someone you trust, and you send the money, and then he goes or pays. Not comfortable, you know. They don't care. If you go to the bank, like I went last time with 500 euros, no, like 1,000 euros, yeah, and then I wanted to change it to pay, and they said I can only change 500 euros because that's the law. But I said, okay, but I have to pay the child care, the child support here in this bank. But I don't have a bank account there. Okay, so if you don't have a bank account, you can only pay 500 euros. And you must come back next day. So you have to make the 2 hours queue twice. You know, that's just, you know, for starters. Okay, that's just like minor issue, you know. But if you have things to do, it's, you know, it's not a funny thing to go to banks. You know, it's stressful. So then, for you to leave the country, you have to pay for 14 months upfront. So if you plan to leave the country, you pay the last month, which is coming up, and then you leave a deposit of 14 months so that they give you the permission to leave the country, which is probably like 5 days. Like they give you a window. Right? If you have a plane ticket already, it's okay, because then they give you this window. But you know, anything happens to you, you have to apply again for the window. So it's not, you are not free to go from this country. Costa Rica turned into a country for me which is hard to enter and hard to leave. Well, I'm fine here, you know, if I don't have to escape from the police. But when I was treated with cancer, I was in the hospital, and I, of course, for the explained reasons, I couldn't pay the childcare. So I said, please, I wrote to the mother of my child. In that time, we were still in communication, but then I dropped the communication with her because she was like toxically communicating with me, like accusing of being a bad father, and then it's just things, unbelievable things. Like she didn't believe I was operated with cancer, so I had to send the video of my cut. It was humiliating. So, and then I was begging her to lower the amount of the childcare because I'm sick. Of course, I don't have the same capacity to earn money, and I cannot send it to Costa Rica, so it's complicated for me. She said no. She said I should send her a video about my cuts and everything from intimate parts of my body, which I didn't really like, but eventually I did. And then after that she said no. All right, so yeah, you know, it was boiling up in me. I decided I cut all relationship with this person. So I decided to go with a lawyer, just 100% lawyer, and no communication with her. I still communicate with the grandmother, but I don't talk to her. And I never plan to go. Actually, I don't even pronounce her name. So, but I'm not here to talk bullshit about her. It's just the situation I'm trying to explain. So I came here and I was already looked after by the police. So I decided, if the lawyer cannot get me the permission to enter Costa Rica legally, because then if I enter and I am behind like 2 months, they put me in jail right away. So after the operation, like I was cut, and my big part of my bowel, what's the name in English? Like my rectum, the rectal part of my system was removed. So without giving you too much details, it's not easy to travel, you know. So I decided to land in Panama, which is safe, because if I land in Costa Rica, they right away can put me in jail. Right? They don't care if you are sick. You are in jail, you try to explain, but you know, I needed medication, and then I was in a special state. I needed to take vitamins and medication and certain kind of powders to regulate my digestive system, and also so I can hold my desires to go to the restroom, so to put it in a nice way. Okay, but it's not nice. So I landed in Panama, and then I decided to travel by bus to the border and cross to Costa Rica on the river. So like that back, illegally cross on river, unless I get the permission. But my lawyer, in the final moment, got
lap 4, 4510.
So I had like 2 months of jail time when I was about to enter Costa Rica illegally, and he managed to clean me up. So of course I paid everything up, but you know, it took some time. So I could enter Costa Rica, and then after all this, the medical examination happened. So my child support was lowered, but it didn't mean I could see my son, you know. And then she told me, whatever the law says, she doesn't care. So she knows I'm fucked up. I'm sorry, I don't know if YouTube will remove this part. And she knows, but she doesn't care. She doesn't care if I can go to visit or not. So now I'm at this point, and if someone is interested, I can give more details how it goes and how how things are developing, and also more details of the story, and more in general about Latin America and Costa Rica, how to avoid such a situation. Of course, if you don't have a child with someone, but also divorce is very expensive here. A crying woman can put you in danger here. If you have a house, for example, and then, or you rent something, a woman comes up to the house crying and someone reports, you go to jail. They don't ask why the person is crying, you know. They take it as granted that it was the man. You know, you hear stories. So the best advice is to avoid Costa Rican women. Well, I know many Costa Ricans will get upset with me, but I learned my lesson. Probably in the next video I will explain a small story about how I was staying here illegal and left the country, and then I was almost detained. Then I told my story to the border guard and they let me go. It was funny, but not. All right.